Hello there.
You know what I've come for. This is the way.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Hello, and welcome back to the Pod Awakens on our Mandalorian Season 1 recaps. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and I have Jedi Padawan Logan Stump.
Hello there.
And Jedi Knight Matt Hartgrove.
Hey there.
So I gave you a little bit of a promotion this time, Matt, and Logan a little bit of a demotion this week.
I don't really appreciate that, but whatever.
We are recapping Chapter 4, which is titled Sanctuary, which aired on November 29th of 2019. November 29th, yep, on Disney Plus. Created by Jon Favreau, written by Jon Favreau, and directed by Ron Howard's daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard. She's also known for starring in Spider-Man 3 and the Jurassic World franchise. So getting her hand into directing Star Wars. And the music, of course, by Ludwig Göransson. So let's talk about this episode. Let me give you a little summary here. We have the planet Sorgan, which is the planet that we will focus on this week. Is a forest planet with a village of farmers who are being pillaged by raiders. The Mandalorian soon lands on Sorgan looking to hide from the guild. And in a local restaurant, he comes across Cara Dune, a former rebel shock trooper. And then the villagers ask for the Mandalorian and Cara Dune's help on stopping the raiders from attacking the village again. So I guess before we break this one down, just first thoughts. We didn't do this last week, but we'll just do first thoughts on the episode before we break it down. I'll start, I guess. This is probably my least favorite episode of the show. Because I felt like we had a lot of momentum build up in Chapter 3 to then have this just kind of be a meandering storyline this week where not a lot happened in the overall plot. It's a lot more of a story of the week episode where they're, helping a random village. I do think that this does help a bit in the overall story when it comes to, the reason why Baby Yoda has to stay with Mando, as we'll break it down, and can't just stay somewhere else. It's because people will keep on coming after him. And, that's kind of what we get from this one. But other than that, and we get the introduction of Cara Dune, who comes back again. But other than that, for me, it's a very kind of a forgettable episode of the show. How about you, Logan? Your first thoughts on Sanctuary?
Yeah, same here. When I was watching it back the second time, I'm like, man, this just isn't. It's just a filler. It gives us some important background information on Mando and. Especially like the different things that he can't do with his helmet or whatever. He can't take it off, and it also shows I think it shows an interesting dynamic of he wants to settle down but knows he can't because I don't think he ever thinks that he can, and I think that plays a lot to the complex that he has with what happens when he's a child and you're getting all these flashbacks constantly of him. But you get a lot of gifs out of this, or gifs, or however you want to say it, out of this episode with Baby Yoda. But other than that, again, I think it's a pretty uneventful. The ending is probably the biggest cliffhanger that I like. But other than that, not much really doing for this episode.
And Matt, as we come around to you, your first thoughts on Chapter 4.
I mean, I think it is similar to both of you guys. It made me wonder if this was going to be the setup for for the show would be kind of randomized areas and just doing something in that area that helps them while also slightly moving the Baby Yoda storyline and like trying to move around, finding somewhere safe. So it did seem like a bit of a lower rated episode. It did kind of make you wonder how the rest of it would go. I do say one of my favorite parts of this episode is the tension between Mando and the chick on the planet who clearly is like in love with him. I don't know why, but I just thought that was like incredibly funny.
Yes.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I was like, she wants him. This is what she is somehow in love with this man after 2 seconds.
Yeah, not take the helmet off.
All she wants is. Yeah, and I was like, is he gonna do it? Like, would he do it? And I like that. Actually, I had more fun wondering if that was gonna happen than majority of the rest of the episode.
Well, let's get into it. So we start out underwater. It's in the village, and birds start fleeing, and we hear some footsteps and some blaster fire, and then that's when the raiders come in. And it's more of a scene out of Lord of the Rings than Star Wars that we've ever seen. But it is interesting, that this dynamic is going on this planet while all this other stuff is happening in this whole universe. You have this, these orcish raiders attacking. Then we get the title card. We got some great, like Logan said, some great Baby Yoda moments in this. We get good character moments in this episode, but the plot itself, is not as great. But we have Baby Yoda flipping some switches or pushing some buttons, and kind of like any kid, where the parent tells you to stop and the kid just watches you as he goes for it again and just pushes that button one more time. They land on Sorgan and the Mando tells Baby Yoda to stay. And I just love this image here when we open up the door and Baby Yoda is just right next to him. Anyway. And he's like, all right, fine, you can come along, whatever. So there's the Wikipedia summary called this a restaurant. I called it a cantina styled as a hut, almost. It's a very Gilligan's Island-esque cantina, I would say. Like if you were on the island with Gilligan, you'd be like, all right, well, what if we just made it's a lot of almost like bamboo-ish type stuff, as a cantina. And he notices Cara Dune kind of sitting in her own little corner, and he asks the waitress, who she is, how long she's been there, that kind of thing. And then he notices that she's gone, so he decides that he is going to track her down. And then she kind of jumps from the roof and starts attacking him, and they have this little melee, little fist fight. And then we get one of the most popular, and now is a Funko Pop and a toy as well, Baby Yoda just sipping his soup as he's watching them lying on the ground. So that's all to set up Cara Dune and, what she's doing and the planet and everything. Because then we get to the actual meat of the episode where, Mando is going back to his ship. And there's some villagers who show up there asking for help. And, Mandalorian pretty much says, just one last thing. Let me go get, Cara Dune here. They get Cara Dune and they go to help the village. And we get Baby Yoda laying down, looking up at the stars. And I just thought that was a very nice image of I wonder what's going on through Baby Yoda's mind as he's looking up at the stars. Is he thinking about his family? Is he just, thinking about how lucky he is to be here with Mando now? Does he understand what's going on? He's 50 years old, but does he actually understand what's going on? And that's something we haven't gotten into yet. And Matt, I'm going to throw this to you here. He's 50 years old, but still an infant. Does he understand that Mando saved him? Does he understand that he is wanted? Does he understand any of this?
I think he understands that Mando did do something to help him, but I don't think he fully realizes any of it though, because even though he's 50, they do say that line in the first episode that all species age differently. So honestly, I guess when I'm watching it, I'm considering 50 to be like a real legitimate baby, like maybe 5 months old. You know, like he isn't aware of what's really happening. But at the same time, I guess you do see moments where he sees his potential with some of the things he could do, but I don't think he realizes what he's doing. And so I do think he knows there's some sort of connection now with him and Mando. If he knows exactly what it is, probably not. But I do think he realizes that Mando did something for him that was a positive for Baby Yoda. Like he sees it as, you saved me, but I really don't know what you saved me from or why you saved me or even really who you are, but like you're the one that carried me out and made sure they didn't do anything to me. So it's weird, but like I think he definitely does see something. He just doesn't have any understanding of it.
And not only that, but he's like, and you gave me that little knob from the lever to play with, so you're a cool guy. How about you, Logan? Does Baby Yoda understand what's going on in your eye? Would you want to be one of Yoda's species? You get to live forever, but you have to take care of a kid for more than 50 years before they're even old enough to do anything on their own.
No, don't set me up for that life. No, I think what Matt said is great. Like, I think he realizes that he's done something for him. He just doesn't know what, because I don't think he understands the context in which he was taken, and then why he had a bounty on him. Because he's 50, and he's doing whenever he does the Force, he's going to sleep, and I think he sleeps a lot. So like, I don't think he gets it. I think he's so naive, and I think the fact that he eats the frog, he puts the frog in his mouth, he tries to eat it, and his little soup cup, I think it plays to that childhood innocence of like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just here for the ride, but you saved me, big man with the mask. So,
does he view Mando as his father? That's one thing I want to know, because we have like, how long is their memory span? That's something we don't know either. Like, does he have actual memory of his real parents? What are your thoughts, Logan? Does he remember his real parents, or is this like one of those things where somebody is born and the first person they laid eyes on they think is their mother, and he woke up from his nap in the cradle and he's like, oh, this guy with the mask, he's my dad now?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got like I think he's kind of got like that when you adopt a pet, because we all have it, he's got that like, oh, okay, so like, you're taking care of me, like you're feeding me, you take me places. Okay, I guess I can be on board with this. So I think he does. I think he has that, like, almost like he's starstruck. He likes Mando, and I think that's why he follows him off the ship. He's like, where are you going? You got to take me with you. I don't know how to function without you. So yeah, I think so. I think he definitely just kind of falls in love with Mando.
It just reminds me so much of like my dogs, when like I'll be like sitting on the couch and I'm just going to the bathroom and I'll be like, all right, stay here, and then I turn around and they're following me all the way down the hallway.
Yep.
And I'm like,
absolutely,
you could stay there. It just really hit home as a dog parent now. So we have where did we leave off here? Okay, so they arrive at the village. The kids immediately fall in love with Baby Yoda. They're just like the viewing public at home who watch the show. They immediately take to him. And Omera, who is the woman that Matt was referring to earlier, I don't know if they say her name at all in the show, but it is in the summary that I found and in the casting. But her kid, who was named, was it? Start like Winter almost, right? It was, does it say it in the summary?
Yeah, it's something like that. Oh man, I heard it earlier too.
Like Vinda or Vinter. It's very close to that.
Venta, yeah, something like that. Yeah, because I remember she does have a name, because the guy I was listening to that was summarizing it as well. Oh man.
Yeah. It's like it's very close to Winter. they bond, the kid and Baby Yoda bond, and O'Mara sets him up with a little hut of his own, and he is he's very hesitant about letting the kid play with the child, and she kind of convinces him that they'll be okay. And she asks, when's the last time you ever took off your helmet? And he says, I wasn't much older than, well, he jokingly says last night, right? But she says in front of other people, and he says, well, I was only a little bit older than them, pointing to all the kids outside. Which means to me, we've seen him as a flashback as that kid's age, which means pretty much after he's saved, he wears that all the time. But he does take it off while he's eating, and I know it's a good shot and everything, but it is a little funny that, like, okay, well, if you were just standing outside the window, you would clearly be able to see who he is, right? like the kids are playing like 30 yards from him, and he's got his helmet off, and he puts it down, and I'm like, just look up, you'd be able to see him. O'Mara, go around the corner, take a look at him. Does he interest you? This is your chance to look to see if you like what's under the mask. We got then the next scene is pretty much Cara Dune and Mando doing some reconnaissance, and they find big footprints, and Cara Dune, who's a former rebel shock trooper, says, well, this is the ATST, this is the Imperial Walkers, and they decide, all right, we can't do it, right? They're like, all right, we're done, we're leaving, you guys can't live here anymore, is what they actually say. Did that surprise you, Matt, at all? That they were just kind of like, all right, this is too big for us. Catch you all later.
No, no, because I think based off of their history, they have a better idea than the villagers do. So when they see all of it, they're like, okay, you guys, we're just two people. There's no way we can defeat this. Like, I know you want us to, and we're clearly people who have fought and battled, but you guys have no idea what you're up against. Like, even we can't do this. And I do think it's funny when they're like, I think it's funny when Mando basically says, like, yeah, you guys need to leave, and then Cara Dune's like, you could have been a little bit nicer about that. I just like how she kind of like says that to him, and then she does decide to, give them the heads up and go over what exactly they're dealing with. And they're like, we're not leaving. And then, of course, the one lady's probably like, listen, I'm not leaving without seeing this dude's face. So until you take off your mask, I just seriously, that's like the main thing. If there's one thing that just like sticks out to me in that entire episode is just how much she wants to see his face. And I want to go just watch Game of Thrones. Like, you'll see it there.
Yeah. But that whole time she'll be like, which one is he? Right? Like, she doesn't know. Like, if she watched Game of Thrones, she'd be like, I still don't know which actor he is. But
yeah.
Like you said, he's got no bedside manners, right? He can't be a doctor. He would just come in and be like, that's it. You're done.
But yeah, like I'm not shocked. Like, I'm not shocked because of who they are. They know what it is. I think they saw what basically they saw what was gonna happen. They knew the advantages, disadvantages, and I think that's why they said, like, yeah, we're not doing this.
Logan, did it shock you at all? Like, we're used to our Star Wars heroes, just kind of like, all right, anything we can do to help out, right? Like, we're gonna go. I mean, like, typically, yes, we have the original refusing of the call, like Luke being like, I can't do that, I'm with my aunt and uncle, and then they get blown up, and he's like, I guess I'll go and help now. But did it shock you at all that a former rebel and a bounty hunter are like, this job's too big, you guys now have to uproot your whole community, it's over?
Yeah, like it was like rolling over before. I was like, man, this show's taking a really bad turn. I thought, Mando's just gonna be like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm just gonna take off.
We're just stopping at episode 4.
Right, let's just take off the helmet.
The show's over.
like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just going to settle down. And then it turns into like some kind of Family Matters kind of show. That I think it turns into a sitcom. And
Baby Yoda's like, did I do that?
yeah, right. Like it turns into a sitcom and stuff, and they're all sitting on a couch, and then it's just a happy-go-lucky. The galaxy comes to peace, and then that's when Palpatine comes in later on, and just blows them all away because they're not suspecting it.
Oh man, that just gave me a good idea for a sitcom taking place on Alderaan right before they. Honey, I'm home. Oh, what's that in the sky? Like that's not good.
Sky.
But they come around to it, right? They kind of talk these people into helping, and they decide that they're going to train the villagers how to fight. Cara Dune's teaching them, kind of like very reminiscent of the "I'll make a man out of you" montage from Mulan, and we have Mando teaching them how to shoot. We learn that Omera actually already knows how to shoot a gun, and we don't kind of really get her history there that much, and makes me interested if she's going to come back in one of these other episodes for season 2. And they decide that they're going to dig a hole in their field where they are farming the shrimp-like alien. And they're going to dig a hole deep enough so that way the ATST, if they can get it to walk into it, will fall and drown and, not drown because it's not living, but, submerge itself, and they won't be able to use it anymore. So that's kind of the gist of it, as Mando and Cara Dune go to, instigate the raiders to get them to attack back. So we've seen ATSTs and stuff like, Return of the Jedi, as Ewoks, just little bears, just destroy the crap out of these things. But they really made it legit terrifying in this episode, I think, with the red eyes. And, it kind of, especially at the beginning of the episode where you kind of don't even see it. And it's almost like this, like, horror-esque again, right? Like we've talked about it in like every episode except for episode 3, I think, this horror aspect of these things, in this case, like the monster you don't even see, right? And then like Jaws, and then you don't see it until, the very end of the movie or, very end of the episode. The Raiders do attack, and Cara Dune has to go out there because the ATST stops, and she has to try to instigate it to continue going. So she takes Mando's disintegrating gun, and she starts firing, trying to get it to come as close to that ledge of the pond as it can. And eventually she does shoot it right in its red eye, where somebody would have been taking control of it. And it finally starts staggering into the pond and falls. And just when you think the episode is over, we kind of get a little side storyline here that I mentioned earlier, where the Mandalorian wants the child to stay. The child loves it there. The kids love the child, but then we kind of get a gunshot, and it, as we see this person approaching in the woods, and we hear the fob beeping, and it turns out Cara Dune has shot a bounty hunter who was about to shoot Baby Yoda, and that means Mando says he has no choice but to take the child because they're going to keep coming for the child, and, he has to protect it. And that's kind of what the rest of the season kind of sets up here, is that he has to be the protector. He can't just drop it off somewhere and lay low, because they're always going to be able to track him with these fobs. So he's got to kind of keep moving, and he's got to try to, take care of the child. And that's the end of the episode. So I guess final thoughts here on this. Like I said before, probably my least favorite of the season. It does sets up some good stuff here, and it makes you wonder what's going to happen in season 2. Will they keep coming for him? Is he supposed to take him to, his family, or who is he going to hook him up with? But, episode 5 is a lot of people's least favorite. I really like episode 5, so I'm looking forward to next week when we break that one down. But Logan, your final thoughts on this? Any new thoughts as we head out of here?
No, I like that it sets up Cara Dune, and I really do like the aspect of like it's a good filler as far as like letting us know more of kind of creating that bond between the child and Mando, and then also setting up like the guidelines of what a Mandalorian is. You're getting that history and background. More and more you get deeper into this thing, especially as you get later on in the season, you really get a good storyline between he and the. Well, I don't even know. Does the lady have a name that like makes his armor?
The armorer is what they call
Okay,
it.
so they've got a good storyline. But again, I think this, it wasn't a good episode for me. I just, it kind of was boring. But I think it leads up to a couple things, and setting up Cara Dune is really important because I think she's got a really interesting background.
Matt, are you looking forward to hopefully seeing Omera in season 2 to get your resolution to this this love story?
Yeah, I 100% would be okay with that. I think that was it's just funny part of the storyline, just watching her, like, she's basically drooling over him and just like, oh, your mask, like, take the mask off, like, you. And even Cara Dune says something. She literally says to him, like, you're not just gonna want to settle down with the widow, and the kid likes it here, and clearly she has a little tension with you, but I wouldn't mind seeing characters brought back from season 1 into season 2. I guess they have to do it the right way though, because I don't really know where this planet could fit into a further storyline, because it did seem like such a filler episode of, like, we're gonna take this random spot and you're gonna go there, save them, but we're also gonna prove to everybody why you need to. It was almost like them showing us why he needs to be with the child at all times, because, like you mentioned, at the end you get the bounty hunter, and I think that ending. I think that was almost a little too. It was almost a little too easy to kind of go, like, I know what's gonna happen. Like, you could kind of have a sense of what was gonna happen. I think with how bright and sunny it was and how nice it seemed to end, you had to figure something was gonna happen, because he wasn't going to leave Baby Yoda, because you could tell that that's also a big part of the storyline is Baby Yoda. So he wasn't just going to let him stay there and go off on his own adventures. I think that's where the episode really, it was, I guess, in a way needed in order to show us the importance of them staying together. But at the same time, it was a very, very easy to guess what was going to happen next episode or during the episode.
Yeah, though, something you pointed out here is maybe Mando was just ahead of his time, right? Maybe he was just ahead of his time. He was like, you're within 6 feet of me. I cannot take off this mask for both of our
Right.
safety. I cannot do that.
Well,
Sorry.
I was happy. I was happy that Cara Dune says something, because I was like, when I first saw the episode, I was like, this is some, like, sexual tension between these two. Like, is no one picking up on this? Because she's like, it's more like her, like the way she's staring at just this mask. She's not staring. She doesn't know what his face looks like. She's not looking into his eyes. She's just, like, staring at the mask, and I'm like,
Matt, who doesn't love a man in uniform?
but, like, it's just, I was watching it going, someone's got it. Like, this is clearly obvious, right? And, like, I was happy that she, like, said something like, oh, you're not gonna stay here with the widow and have, like, a little happy Mando family. And he's like, no, that's not part of it. Like, he's just like, he, like, doesn't even care. He's just like, no, I'm the Mandalorian. You really think that I'm not removing this mask?
See, I think he would have. Maybe not, but I think he did have an attraction to her. I think that he's just so kind of. It's almost like if he was like a priest and he finds out that this girl, that he went to school with had a crush on him, and he's like, nah, and now she's available, and he's like, but I kind of already have this code now. I can't really turn back on it. It's kind of how I view how Mando sees himself. But we do learn, right, in a later episode here coming up, that he had in chapter 6 that he did have a relationship with somebody as well. But kept his mask on from what we learned. We'll get to that, in about 2 weeks here. But we're releasing one of these each week. So stick with us here as we build up. By the time that you're listening to this episode, we are about, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're about 4 weeks away from the season premiere of Mandalorian Season 2. So we're recording this way ahead of time, but by the time you hear this, it will only be a month away. And if there's a trailer in between then, we might do a trailer reaction episode that comes up at some point. But hopefully we get a look at that soon. If we have got a look at that, wow, that looked great. Can't wait to see it in 4 weeks. You can find us on Twitter at Pod Awakens, Facebook.com/Pod Awakens, Instagram at Pod Awakens, and email us podawakens@gmail.com. It worked out that nobody else had that handle. And, like I said, and I say every week, may the Force be with you.
I have spoken.
It's over, Anakin!